Hello everyone. In this video, which is the last in the series on multimodal transcription, we'll look at how to add figures into a multimodal transcript. So I have gone through and formatted the transcript that we've been working on, and I've numbered the lines in the appropriate way. And by the way, you may have noticed a small error in the last video. I didn't extend the transcription of this release action all the way to the corresponding symbol. So I fixed that. As you go through a transcript and you do the formatting, it's not uncommon to see some minor alignment errors and other things that you might need to fix and revise along the way. What I want to do now is insert some figures and screenshots into the multimodal transcript. There's many different ways to do this, and people have different styles and techniques for doing it. And it also maybe depends a bit on how you use your computer, what software you use, what options are available to you. I'm going to show you a really simple technique, which is using the screenshot feature on your computer in order to make screen grabs that you can then insert into a Word document. Now, if you're preparing this for publication, you'll want to save those screen grabs, those screenshots, as standalone files, PNG files, for example, and have those alongside whatever transcript you produce. Alternatively, if you maybe save your transcript as a PDF, then those figures can be embedded into them. That's something for you to work out and decide. I'm just going to show you a simple technique to get some figures into there, into the transcript, and how you should annotate that. So let's put in a picture for Trump's gesture with the open palms, his famous accordion gesture. Okay, so you look at it and you decide what is the best representative frame. In this case, I would pick one of the frames that are not blurry. So here's a relatively clear frame. And a key point now is to identify the exact moment at which that screen grab occurs. Let us first take the picture. So I'm using the screenshot feature of Mac OS. If you're using a Windows machine, you could search online for how to use the built-in functionality for Windows, and every computer system has this, so just figure out how it works on your computer. I've set this so that it will be putting it directly to my clipboard. But again, as I said, if you're preparing this for a publication, you probably want it as a standalone file. You could save it to your downloads folder or somewhere else. And I'm going to select, I've already made a selection for the video window here. So I'm going to press the capture button. And now that screenshot is on my clipboard. Now we need to know where are we going to insert it. So we need the exact location. So let's listen by using the play selection feature. Ascend. So it's right here. So we're going to use the pound sign or the hash symbol. And as we're inserting symbols like this, we need to be mindful that we are going to be knocking some of our other transcriptions out of alignment. So we're sort of fixing those as we go. And this line is now labeled with fig for figure. And we then put a corresponding symbol here. And we would label this as, say, figure 1. If you're preparing this for a publication, typically what journals want now is for these figures to be numbered sequentially across the entire paper. So the first screenshot that you introduce would be figure 1, and then you'd go on from there. Often journals, some journals, want the screenshots to be separated out of a transcript, while others will allow you to embed them in the transcript. That's something you'll have to work out as you're preparing a manuscript for publication. So we have identified the exact moment at which the figure is taken, the screenshot is taken, and now we can decide where we want to insert it into the transcript. There are lots of different ways of doing this, different styles and conventions. I'm going to first paste it there. Now, firstly, it's too huge, so we can go to picture format and we can knock it down a bit. Okay, so my preference is to then align it. I either, depending on how big it is or how many I have, I either align it to the speaker label column, or I bump it in and align it to the talk. I know that many people don't align them per se. They'll just use the white space along the sides and they float them wherever they fit. And again, this is a matter of preference and style. But you should then now label this as figure 1. And it should not be bold, and it should be gray. So that would be one way of indicating that. Gesture that shows us that at exactly this moment, that's the most important part of this, exactly that moment this screenshot was taken, and it gives the reader some picture of what's going on in the interaction and what this gesture looks like. This is one of the reasons why the descriptions don't need to be very long and detailed, because they're being elaborated by other resources, including screenshots and the analysis you produce in the text of your paper. Now let's look at his pointing gesture. For this one, why don't we show the different phases? So we could have 3 screenshots for each phase. Well, yeah, 1 for each phase. So I will take a screenshot of the preparation phase. Let's see what looks nice. So when we want the preparation phase, probably somewhere in the middle, it's recognizable. The hand shape is visible, but you can tell the arm and hand are in motion because they're blurry. And we can now use our screenshot tool. And let me show you a little trick that I use. This is a little shortcut. So notice, for example, at least on Mac, when you use the screenshot tool multiple times, it remembers the exact location of the previous selection. We can use that to our advantage to take multiple screenshots. So we can zoom in a little bit, crop this. And we could crop it even further if we wanted to. Let's give it a little bit more on this side. Okay, so now I'm going to capture that. It's going to go onto my clipboard. And I'm going to play the selection to find out where exactly this frame is from.
That's great. That's great.
That's great. Okay, so it's in this bit of micro silence. Let's listen again.
That's great.
So I think it's after this in-breath, but it is potentially after the silence. I'm curious to zoom in a little bit. So it's right in here, and it's just before the so. I'm going to put the screen grab here. So I'm indicating, I'm using the pound sign. That's where the figure comes from. And then I'm going to write fig. And I'll put the corresponding pound sign here and call this figure 2. And I'll fix the formatting, make it gray. And what I have in mind for this is I want 3 screenshots all in a row, all on the same line. So since I have one on my clipboard now, I need to make a space for them. I'm going to put all 3 of them underneath this line. So first paste this one in that we've just done. They come out horribly huge. And I'm going to bring it down. One thing I like to do to make them look tidy is keep things a similar size. So this one is 1.68. So let's just go up to 1.7. And then let's put this one down to 1.7. So now they're similarly proportioned, and I will move this in here using spaces to align it. Okay, so now we have the preparation. We've marked that here as figure 2, and we will then add the number 2 here. I will change the font. There we go. Now let's get a nice picture of the stroke. So anywhere here is fine. We could pick the first one. Okay, around there is.
So you know.
So you know. So we're putting in the symbol. I'm going to put in the figure symbol at the line below the one that we've already produced. I often try to keep things in a kind of a temporal alignment. So, for example, this transcript shows that the pointing gesture begins, and this is starting before we've taken our screenshot. And so I would keep this above so that things are kind of moving forward in time, just sort of as a rule of thumb. All right. So we've got our image, we've got it there. Now let's take the screenshot. And do you see then we have the same selection there. So we can just adjust the boundaries here. And we could do something clever like clipping his face out of it and just then focusing on the gesture. This, of course, is optional. How you take these screenshots, what you show is a decision that you make based on the analysis you're producing, how you want to communicate that analysis. There isn't a single right way to do this. So I'm capturing that. Now I'm going to paste it in. Again, it's crazy huge. And we bump this down. So we've been making ours 1.7 tall. And now that aligns. You can be a judge as to whether or not you think this is an effective screenshot. I'm going to carry forward with this strategy just for the purposes of demonstration. I don't think I'm entirely satisfied with it. Partially that C-SPAN symbol is being cut off, which looks a bit awkward. But we need to keep the C-SPAN symbol in here to be able to use this video for educational purposes. So we'll keep that in here for now. Now let's look at a retraction screenshot. Let's carry forward. Okay, so we could pick it in the middle of the retraction as in here.
You know about the
Know about the Trump. All right, so we're going to put it into here. Remove that underlining. Now, because we have two figures on the same line, we just reuse the same line, which is convenient. And now let's take a screenshot. Let's see what it looks like if we leave the framing the way it is. There we go. All right, and we indicate 4 there. So if there's enough space, people will often write figure 1, figure 2, whatever. If there's not enough space, sometimes you can, be more economical and just use the numbers. As long as it's very clear and very explicit, that is what matters the most. Also, something that's important to keep in mind, if you're taking screenshots with multiple participants, and typically participants are not as recognizable as the one we've been working with, it can be really helpful in the first screenshot to indicate who the participants are. And there's different conventions for doing this. Some people like to overlay them on top of the screenshot itself. I prefer just to put it into the transcript. So you could, for example, put Trump. I would just use the abbreviation that you're using in the transcript. And if there was another participant, you would then put their speaker label underneath them. That way a reader knows exactly who it is that they're looking at. So there we have a multimodal transcript with figures inserted into it that we could then use to illustrate these gestures. And of course, these screenshots may not be the best for depicting this gesture. This is just a demonstration of the technique that you would use, what exactly you show, how you capture that moment. is an analytic decision, and it is part of the analytic process. So you want to think about the point you're trying to make, or the point that the data makes for you, and convey that as clearly as possible to the reader. And for now, that concludes the series on multimodal transcription. I hope you find these videos helpful, and I hope they have allowed you to begin producing multimodal transcripts yourself.